Visit Wolfgang von Sprinkletoe's Pyrotechnics for all your fireworks and other assorted fire-based entertainment devices. Choose from the world-famous Sprinkletoe's explosive badger, or from a wide range of rockets, blinkers, flares, mortars, bangers, squibs, comets, candles, shells, sparklers, flashes, bombs, busters, and glow sticks. I heartily recommend that you frequent this establishment, as Mr. Von Sprinkletoes owes me money after a rather large wager involving a garbletoad and one of Mrs. Cockle's left-handed knee breeches. I'd very much like him to pay me back, but his business is not doing well after he accidentally blew up Lord Mucklejoy's privy on New Year's Eve. That stuff gets everywhere.
All the tabletop role-playing news, we aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morris's unofficial tabletop RPG.
Hello, and welcome to Morris's unofficial RPG talk. I, as always, am Russ, aka Morris, or Morris, aka Russ. And with me is the birthday boy, my co-host,
Hello.
Peter Coffey.
From the Southampton Guild of Roleplayers.
Happy birthday, Peter!
Thank you, Russ. I'm feeling good. 3 times 13 is my age today.
Because it's your birthday, I have a special present for you.
What is it?
We have a special guest, all the way from America, who's come on especially to sing happy birthday to you.
Yay!
And because it's public domain, we can actually sing the song now.
No, we won't put you through that, Peter. That would be probably a torture one too far.
And plus, the lag would not be very fun on that one.
I'm just going to pout now, just so you know.
Happy birthday, Peter.
Thank you. There you go. All done.
I haven't actually introduced myself. Hello, I am Darryl Mott, aka The Abstruse One, at Abstruse on Twitter. I write the weekly news digest column for Ian World. I do YouTube videos, mostly about the history of tabletop games these days. I also am a Twitch affiliate streamer. That is actually a new thing. I made affiliate last week.
Nice.
And I am the editor of some weird podcast with a really long name. It's like Tabletop Morris Podcast Talk Unofficial thing.
It sounds
exactly.
Awful.
So when we speak about Darryl, our editor, this is the guy that we're talking about. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah.
All right then, Peter. So, what has caught your eye in the world of RPGs?
What has caught my eye in the world of RPGs this week is a fantastic article from Lifehacker, which is how to play an RPG anywhere, anytime. Yeah, that's right. I said it.
I just always have a pack of dice on me no matter where I go, so...
a pack of physical dice. How very 20th century of you.
Have you got a little? Have you got like a little holster for them?
Yes, I actually have one of those D20 spinner rings that if you spin it, it works as a D20.
Nice. I assumed you just had like a dice holster that you could have on your belt.
What are those things?
Well, I have one of those too.
What are those things that like Chewbacca wears and you have ammo?
Bandolier.
Yeah. You get a dice one of those.
No, guys, hear me out, right? What you do is you get like a bunch of those healing potion bottles, which are like full of like the D4s and the 3D8s and whatever, and you have a bandolier of those.
Yes.
And then when you're role playing, you're like, yep. And then like you throw them to the person, and if they can catch it, then they can use it as a free action. How about that? Best house rule ever.
Interesting.
Are you with me? Come on, yeah. Okay, yeah, anyway, here in the 21st century, there are things called dice rolling apps and one-page RPGs, like Lasers and Feelings, my personal favourite, Honey Heist. You've got micro RPGs, you've got All Out of Bubblegum, you've got like A Good Day to Die, The
Roll for Shoes.
Roll for Shoes by our good friend Grant Harrett. Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of things you can do, and basically it's just like you pull up a PDF on your phone. You can like share it around if you like. You could do dice rolling apps all off your phone. And if you're going somewhere without your phone, you have to say, are you really in a situation where you can RPG? Think about it. Oh yeah, that's been very inspirational to me. Other things that have caught my eye are quite relevant. Is there's the largest tabletop gaming convention on the south coast of England. That's going on Saturday 23rd of March, StabCon South, spring 2019, and the Southampton Guild of Roleplayers have been invited to come forth and bring the role-playing game strand, so we're making preparations for that. I know, it's super good.
Darryl, how about you? What's caught your eye this week?
Well, what's caught my eye is I've been working on a new video that's basically a bunch of trivia about the Dragonlance setting.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one.
And its development history and everything else. And I decided to make a joke about don't tassel the Hoff. And I went on Google image search and tried to find an image of David Hasselhoff wearing tassels. And I found one.
So that image exists, does it?
No one needs to see this image. No, do not search for it. However, I do have something else that is related that will not sear your brain. Just as I was starting this video and I was writing the script and everything, Margaret Weiss started writing her history. She's been retelling on her Facebook page the history of the early development of Dragonlance, and it's a tiny bit annoying for me because all of this stuff that I had to dig through, all these dozens of interviews and Q&As and everything, she is now just splattering all over her Facebook page. I had to do all this work to dig these stories up. However, it is a very nice way to find out all these stories about the early development of the Dragonlance setting in the novels and everything else.
Nice.
And she actually posted one today that I did not know about, and I actually had to add to my script. But Miss Weiss is an awesome person. She actually she had pictures accompanying it. It's about at Gen Con 1984 there was a actual to promote the novel because TSR and Random House weren't really promoting the first one because they didn't expect it to be a success. Tracy and Margaret actually put together a live reading, like kind of like a radio play or a stage play of Dragons of the Autumn Twilight at Gen Con in 1984, and she posted some pictures of that, and she actually was really, really nice and granted me permission to use those in my video as well. So,
nice.
What a lady. Fantastic.
Talking of people posting history on Facebook, I've noticed Jim Ward does that a lot too. Who was obviously part of Gary Gygax's gaming group and was around for many, many of the years of TSR. And I've been reading some of those. I've been really, really interested. They're not long. They tend to be sort of like, a couple of paragraphs, 2 or 3 paragraphs. But it's just like anecdotes about life at TSR back in the 70s and the 80s. It's really, really interesting.
Russ,
yes.
What has caught your eye this week?
So, yes, International GM's Day, which is a day which celebrates all the game masters out there. Was actually started on my site years ago.
Woohoo.
And in the early years, it was literally just an EN World thing until Drive-Thru-RPG started having a sale, and then people started to sort of jump in on it. And since then, it's become a major international RPG holiday where there's lots of sales and people, hopefully, they probably don't, but hopefully buy nice things or say nice things at least to their GMs.
As someone who is always the GM and never the player, which may be part of the problem is my initials are DM, but I am very, very grateful because I have always felt that we are a little bit underappreciated.
Well, interestingly, the Dungeon Masters Guild is also having a holiday on exactly the same day, which they're calling DM's Day. Obviously, that's a totally separate holiday because it's got a different name, but they decided to put it on the same day as GM's Day.
Oh, I see. Yes. Very good.
Yes. Oh, I do have one more thing, actually. I have to show you something. Hang on a second.
Oh, this one is a visual.
Yes, perfect for podcasting.
Oh, that giant book of sci-fi battle maps.
Wow. That is huge.
That is. So you remember the giant book of fantasy battle maps?
I do.
So this is the sci-fi version. I'll just flip. Kind of hard to do here. Flip through it. There we go. So we got like some kind of hangar bay of some kind there.
Well,
that looks like a level from Doom.
And then also there's some spacey ones as well, which are hex. So there's an asteroid field there, and there's
big hex field with the Milky Way in the background.
So just so people can get some idea of the scale, Russ. I mean, it's like. Roughly how many squares by how many squares?
How many squares by how many squares? So these are inch-long squares. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 on the short side. And then presumably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 on the long side.
So it's about half poster sized when it's opened up with both pages flat out.
Yeah.
So it's quarter sized on each one.
If you took four standard A4 pages or letter
or legal size,
yeah, it's four of those. Yeah.
It's a big boy, is what we're saying.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Bloody
lovely. Yeah. Like that. So that was actually sent to us by Loki Battle Maps because they heard that I really, really, really liked the fantasy version, and so they popped this in the post. So thank you very, very much to them. Shall we get on with the news?
Yes, let's.
News.
All right then. So, do you remember last week we talked about Ghosts of Saltmarsh?
Ghosts of Saltmarsh? Yes, I do remember.
And Amazon had just leaked it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what happened like 5 minutes after our podcast ended?
The official WotC announcement of Ghost of Saltmarsh.
Oh, how do all these companies do this every time? I'm convinced they're spying on us. There's no other possible way this can happen.
People wonder why I post my column at like 2 in the morning, and it's because it's the only time I can post anything that no one is going to snipe me with some news announcement.
Well, anyway, it has officially been announced. There's not a lot more information about it other than the fact that it has now officially been announced. $49.95 coming out 21st of May. There is something interesting about it. You know, normally they release it 11 days earlier in preferred stores.
Yes.
They're not doing that this time. 21st of May everywhere. There is an alternate cover, which you can only get at game stores. So that's how they're supporting the preferred stores this time around. So rather than getting earlier release, they're just getting the alternate cover. Actually, I prefer the non-alternate cover myself, if you look at the two of them.
Okay.
I think the main problem with the alternate cover isn't necessarily the cover itself. It's more that the way it was kind of photographed, it looks kind of... It's really hard to see in the press kit that WotC released.
Yeah, it was very brightly coloured and luminous looking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I definitely prefer the original one, the one with the ship and the big kraken and all that sort of thing. That's much better. Still on the Ghosts of Saltmarsh theme, yes. Dragon Plus, which was the Coast online sort of in-house e-magazine.
Yeah, the app, and it's also a PDF you can download from the website.
That has a sort of big preview of Ghosts of Saltmarsh in it, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. They've got a big interview with Luke Gygax about Greyhawk. Previews of Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and the magazine is getting much better than it used to be, I think, because it used, at first, when it came out, and this was... 2 or 3 years ago? I can't remember when it came out, but
3 years, I think.
3 years ago. At first, it really was just like an advert for the D&D brand, wasn't it? And it was talking about...
It was like 3 articles a month, and that was it.
Yeah, and lots of adverts for video games and things like that. Whereas these days, you get actual content. So sometimes you get adventures in there, you get previews, you get maps and things you can use, all sorts of stuff. So it's definitely improved. It's definitely worth checking out now, because I know quite a lot of people at the time kind of checked it out when it originally launched and pretty much gave up on it pretty quickly. So if anyone is one of those people, I do think it's worth giving it another shot, because it's definitely much, much, much better than it.
And it is free and available on all the iOS and Android and everything else. You can just get the app and check it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
There's no subscriptions or anything, so...
Oh, Russ, how are you doing with your search for EM Publishing's new part-time publishing administrator?
I have got several applications. I don't want to go into too much detail, because I don't think that would be fair to them. But, I've got several applications. Applications close on Friday. I would note for those applying, please do take care of your covering letter.
Friday, 8th of March, applications close for this job as a publishing administrator at EM Publishing.
Yes.
Covering letter, very important.
Very important. In fact, I would say your covering letter is probably more important than your CV.
Interesting.
Which would be resume for you Americans, which doesn't really apply because it is a UK position.
Yes. No Americans are going to be... I did get one person who emailed me and said, I'm interested in applying for your job, but could you tell me what HMRC is? And I was like, interview fail.
Yes, I'm afraid you have not passed, my friend. If you don't know what the UK's inland revenue is called, then perhaps this is not the job.
Yes, exactly, because you'll be dealing with them quite a lot.
Hi, American here. What?
You call it
inland revenue.
Your version of it's the IRS.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, it's called.
Anyway, what else news do you have?
Ooh, more news. Young Adventurers Guides.
Oh, these.
Yeah. I think we mentioned.
I haven't heard of these.
I think we have mentioned them briefly before, but that was before there were sort of like covers and things and descriptions to.
Yeah, it was just a quick announcement
Yeah,
they did.
it was super quick.
About 4 months ago, something like that.
Well, we've definitely got announcements now. So what we've got is the covers of two of them. One's called Monsters and Creatures, and one's called Warriors and Weapons. And the Monsters and Creatures book has a big red dragon on the front. Warriors and Weapons has like an elf with a bow and a man with a torch and a sword there. And they're designed for kids and just introducing the sort of concepts of D&D to them. So, on a sort of young adult kind of... I think it's pre-young adult, actually, isn't it? What's young adult? That's teens, isn't it?
YA is preteen to teen.
Yeah, I mean, this is
typically an age range.
These I think skew quite young.
Yes.
It's by the same people who publish Art and Arcana. Do you remember that great big book?
Oh yeah.
Yes, the big dragon book.
Yeah, it's the same publisher, not the same
The new
writers.
Dragon Art, sorry.
Yeah. Look really good. There's two more announced but haven't got covers yet. Are Dungeons and Tombs and Wizards and Spells.
Ooh.
Nice.
What else have we got in the news? Ooh, the Artificer.
Yes, that's been very exciting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
How did that finally come out?
Yeah, that also came out pretty much just after we finished recording, I think, last week.
Yes. It's
How did I miss that?
It's Unearthed Arcana, and they have taken out the gun variant. So now you have an Artillerist who has all sorts of interesting turrets, including some healing, as well as some force and flamethrower damage, because that's always screams high fantasy to me, having a robot turret going along breathing flames over everything. Or you can have, I think, the Alchemist who does something else.
Yeah.
Well, this is a class that originally came from Eberron.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
So-
I should probably have a think about that. I'm due to be playing an Eberron game later this month.
Oh, really? I've never ever played in Eberron. I'd be interested in doing so at some point. Have you played in it before? Either of you?
Well, not yet, but I'm going to.
Okay, let me know.
I have not, solely because if I'm working with technology and fantasy, I kind of have my niche, which is something we'll be talking about later on in the podcast, Shadowrun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
Yeah. Also, they also announced something else about Unearthed Arcana or Arcana.
Oh, yeah.
So normally they do it once a month, and it used to be once a month on the first Monday of the month. This month it got delayed to the last. That was the end of February, so rather than. They said they are still going to be releasing Unearthed Arcana, but so they're moving to they call it a more flexible schedule. So it'll still be roughly once a month, they say, but the day will be whatever day works best. So basically, it's kind of gone more to it will be done when it's done on a schedule. It will be on the first Monday of each month.
You can have it when we feel like it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Which, as much as I would like to have something that's a regular schedule, on the other hand, I'd rather them release something when they're ready to release it than kind of rushing something out.
I mean, let's face it, it's free content, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah, it is playtest, so
Yeah.
rushing it out isn't as big of a deal as like a main book or anything, but still.
Yeah, you'd like it to be as close to what they think is perfect as possible.
Yeah.
And just so we can avoid things like centaurs, who are medium creatures, can have medium creatures ride upon them. Centaurs as far as I can see, an infinite stack! Sorry. Anyway, we got there. I got distracted. So, any more
Peasant
news?
Ballista.
That only works if you apply rules as written and ignore physics, right until you start applying physics and start ignoring rules as written.
Oh, yeah.
So, still on D&D.
Yay.
Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Do you remember the big Beadle and Grimm's Platinum edition of Waterdeep Dragon Heist last year?
Oh, it was
Yes.
$200 or something because it included like all the props in the world.
No, $500.
$500. I'm sorry. I thought $500. No, that's ridiculous. What can it feasibly be? No, $200. No, I'm sorry. You're correct, Darryl. I was wrong. It is
here's the thing. I've actually broken down the old, the Waterdeep box set based on the contents that was included, the number of miniatures and everything else, and it is actually value for dollar on that.
Absolutely.
If you're going to buy just the miniatures, not even counting everything else, it is how much you would pay for that number of miniatures. Plus, you get the adventure, plus the books, plus all the other handouts, plus the GM screens and everything else. So,
and the Realia, the nice printed out maps.
This one isn't quite as ambitious. So this one is only $175. And they've called it the Sinister Silver Edition of Ghosts of Saltmarsh.
Yep.
And it's similar in concept. It doesn't have any miniatures in it, is the main difference. So you've still got lots of handouts, documents, letters, battle maps, poster maps, encounter cards, pins, a special DM screen, all this sort of stuff. But what you don't have is the miniatures, which I assume is what makes up for the big price difference there. It's $175 for this deluxe set.
Yeah.
Still expensive, but, it's a little more manageable, I think.
But I suppose if you really liked the original Ghosts in Saltmarsh and wanted to really lean into the new release for 5th Ed, Dungeons and Dragons, then that would be really exciting. Yeah. Oh, have you guys heard about the Invisible Sun PDF release?
Yeah, $99.
Yes. That is... I figured that would come up as a later news subject, yes.
Yeah.
It was my lead story in News Digest.
Yeah, so. I mean, I've seen a lot of people complaining about it online, but I really don't have a problem with it. It's a lot of content.
That has actually become a big, huge thing on social media. Everyone is complaining about it.
I absolutely have no problem whatsoever with the existence of luxury, expensive deluxe products. I don't have a problem with the existence of BMWs. I don't have the problem
I've actually seen it in person.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's quite a nice box. Chap I know has a copy of it, and but they're like a bit of a collector sort.
Yeah,
yeah, and it's like it's it's about 2 foot by like another 1.5 foot. So it's like quite by probably about another 2 foot. So we're talking like
it's kind of cubish.
Oh, it looks gorgeous. Yeah, it looks absolutely lovely.
Yeah. And there's a lot of interesting stuff inside it. But I've never heard anything, and like Andy Peregrine, who has been on the show before, he's definitely a very big fan of it.
Yes,
but for me, it's never sounded like a game I would want to play. And certainly not at that price tag. I mean, because there are so many RPGs out there that it just seems like...
well, not everything has to be for everyone, though, does it? I mean,
That's very true.
Exactly, and it's Monty Cook's right. If they want to make a luxury product, that's their thing. I personally don't like the idea of luxury products that are pricing people out, but at the same time, that's their right if they want to make that. And at the same time, it's not like they're ripping people off. What you're paying for is what you get. Even in that PDF, that $99 PDF is
like six
I mean, there's a strong argument that RPGs are underpriced anyway for what you get.
Huge. It is 1,000 pages listed on drive-through, which that's spread across 4 different books plus 1,000 print and play cards and so much more stuff that's included in the box set. So it is worth every penny of it.
Yeah. It's a problem with RPGs in general that it doesn't look like that. I mean, on the one hand, I absolutely acknowledge what you're saying. Price per page, fantastic value. But then you also have things like, 420-page PDFs of extremely high quality, and they are doing what? $20. So
yeah, but that is underpricing it, I think, and I think that actually can damage the industry, because when everyone is racing to the lowest price point, freelancers aren't getting paid properly. They're getting paid with pittance. Do you know what I mean? They're getting paid like a penny a word and things like that. It's ridiculous because publishers can't afford to pay them decent amounts of money because people refuse to pay more than $20 for a 420-page PDF. It's insane. Anyway, shall we do some more news?
Anyway, news.
Yeah.
Stranger Things D&D starter set has been unboxed in a video by Wizards of the Coast's Greg Tito, I believe his name is. pronounced. Yeah, I mean, this is very much a visual news item. It's actually quite hard for me to pick up. But if you put a link in the show notes, I took screenshots of each bit and then whacked them up into an article, so you can see like the box. You can see the two miniatures, the two Demogorgon miniatures. Basically, they're pretty much the same, but one's painted and one's not. There's a set of dice. There's a starter set rulebook with a whole sort of Stranger Things Demogorgon thing on the front. There is a adventure called The Quest for the Fessel Hydra by Mike Wheeler, who is obviously one of the characters in Stranger Things.
That's one of the main protagonists of the show.
Yeah. And that adventure inside, it's written to look like it's his school notebook. So they've used like a handwriting font, and all the maps look like they're drawn in pencil. And then they got character sheets, I guess, as you'd expect. And yeah, there we go. That's the Stranger Things box set. I'm gonna get that. I just really like the look of it. I don't need another starter set, but I like the look of it. And the starter sets are not.
Well, the first one was so good. Yeah. The second one's
they're not
expensive.
expensive. They're only like $20, aren't they? They're not.
Yeah,
they're not super expensive or anything. It's not like because like the Pathfinder starter set was about twice that. But obviously you got like twice the amount of content.
$29.95 was the manufacturer's price.
But you got a lot more in that one though.
Yeah, you got a flip map and you got the cardboard pawns. Yeah. I've got a news story here. ICV2, which is one of the big tracking companies for the tabletop industry, has posted their top 5 best sellers of the quarter for fall of 2018.
Can we guess? Let's play a game. Shall we guess? Because I haven't seen this yet, and Peter hasn't seen it yet. So only you've seen it, Darryl.
Okay, I have seen this, and I'm going to tell you right now, you are not going to guess all of the top 5 role-playing games.
Am I going to guess the top one?
Is it
You're going to guess the top one. The other ones are going to surprise you.
All right,
go ahead and guess. Number 1. What do you guys guess? Russ first. What do you? I have seen these.
That is going to be D&D, obviously. There's no
Dungeons and Dragons from Wizards of the Coast is number 1 for fall of 2018.
Right. So number 2.
So what do you guys think is the number 2 best-selling role-playing game of fall 2018 through Hobby Channel physical media?
Well, normally it's Pathfinder. Are we suggesting that perhaps it's not?
Call of Cthulhu.
Well, first off, let's go with Russ. What is your final answer?
I'm going to go with Pathfinder still.
You're going to go with Pathfinder? Peter?
I got a good feeling about Call of Cthulhu. I think the Pathfinder spells are being split by PF2.
I'm going to tell you right now, neither one of those answers made the top 5.
Wow. Go on.
Oh, please be Savage Worlds.
Number 2 is Legend of the Five Rings from Fantasy Flight Games.
Did not see that one coming.
No, did not see that coming. Wow.
Let's go ahead and, like I said, there are a lot of surprises on this list. Normally, this is really particular.
The top 3 is usually D&D, Pathfinder, Star Wars. Almost always. And then the latest hotness fights out 4 and 5.
Yeah. And this one, Pathfinder, did not make the list.
Not at all.
So, not at all. It is not on the top 5 at all.
Gee. Wow.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of minds being blown.
That is my jaw hitting the floor.
This is the first of these lists that I have thought that it actually kind of blew my mind too. It is shocking.
Wow.
Now,
I guess I know what the headline on EN World's going to be later today once we finish this podcast. Okay, sorry, number 3 then. Okay, so it's not Pathfinder.
What do you think number 3 is going to be since Pathfinder is not on the list?
Let's try Starfinder, although that's a long shot. I don't think it is.
No, I'm still going to stick with Call of Cthulhu. Because I don't think Savage Worlds is out.
Although I'm tempted to go with Warhammer, actually. Cubicle 7's new Warhammer.
Warhammer Fantasy Role Playing, strong choice.
This is, by the way, for fall of 2018 for the record.
Oh, it won't be Warhammer then. That's remember release dates.
Yeah.
Starfinder then. I'm going to go Starfinder.
Starfinder is not number 3. Star Wars RPG from Fantasy Flight Games is number 3.
Right, yeah. I think that's obvious now I think about it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Edge of Empire. There's 3 different core rule books for the game.
Okay, number 4.
I can't remember them all anymore. But number 4, Peter, do you have a guess?
Still Call of Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu is not in the top 5. I told you this when you said it for number 2.
I didn't hear you say that. I'm sorry, Darryl.
Neither Pathfinder nor Call of Cthulhu. So
that's why I guessed it for number 3 as well.
So what do you think number 4? Or number 4.
Oh, wow. Not Pathfinder, not Call of Cthulhu.
Starfinder or what?
Yes.
No, Starfinder. Go on, Starfinder. Come on, Starfinder. Is Starfinder in there at all?
Hang on. What's Peter's guess?
I'm just trying to think what is sufficiently big. What have I got going on?
Savage Worlds Adventure Edition won't have hit stores by then, will it?
Well, that's the thing. It's like not
Not
the
quite.
No, that'll be the...
your big ones. 5th edition, Pathfinder, maybe Starfinder in there. Call of Cthulhu. You've got Savage Worlds, except that's not like that sort of midway.
Okay, final answer, Peter. Come on. We got a time limit. Come on.
I don't know. Call of Cthulhu. No, you can't be Call of Cthulhu. You just said
The
that.
one thing I said is not on it.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I hope you. It sounds like you guys are enjoying this game fantastically. I don't know. 7th Sea. Yeah.
Okay. Number 4 is... Russ got one right. Starfinder
Finally!
is number 4.
Hey.
Finally, Starfinder.
What? I'm going to tell you right now, none of your guesses have been right for what number 5 is.
I haven't any
What do you
idea.
think the 5th best-selling role-playing game of fall of 2018 is?
Can't think what else would have been big then. Because that's...
Something from Modiphius, like Star Trek.
Yeah, that's my guess, yeah.
I will give you a hint. I will be saying the name of this through gritted teeth.
Oh, Lamentations of the Flame Princess.
Oh, no, it's...
Not quite.
It's a vampire, isn't it?
Oh, Vampire! There we go.
There you
Yeah.
go. Number 5 is Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition.
Well, that is a
Okay, yeah.
really surprising list. I can't believe Pathfinder's not in it.
Dungeons & Dragons, Legend of the Five Rings, Star Wars, Starfinder, and Vampire, and Pathfinder has fallen off
It looks like
completely.
Yeah, it looks like Pathfinder 2 really has, like Peter said, split the sales completely. Okay.
Cool.
Speaking of Legend of the Five Rings, Fantasy Flight Games has announced 2 new products for the line as well.
Oh, yeah?
One of them is a source book, and one of them is the adventure. The Courts of Stone, the essential guide to castles and politics in Rokugan. That is a new book that's going to be talking about, the castles and fortifications and etc. It's another 144-page source book, full color, Fantasy Flight, amazing art. That's kind of a given.
Yeah, Fantasy Flight Games always makes things look good.
Yeah, and that's going to be second quarter 2019, along with Winter's Embrace, which is an adventure that includes a foldable map and tokens and everything else that comes with their normal adventures for Legend of the Five Rings. Being invited to the Emperor's Winter Court is daunting enough, but an invitation to tea with a legendary member of the Crane clan thrusts you into the thick of a devious scheme. Your group is tasked with uncovering the truth behind how a dangerous band of scoundrels from the Mantis clan secured a coveted invitation to the event and, more importantly, what plots they hope to accomplish while they are here. And both of these, again, are going to be launched in second quarter 2019. Fantasy Flight Games is never really firm on their release dates because they're very much of the... They'll let you know when it's on the boat, when it's in the warehouse, when it's shipping out.
I'm a bit like that too, yeah. I've got a little bit of news. The Judge Dredd Kickstarter rewards are on their way. So I received my own reward, which is basically my test shipping copy, which the warehouse and the shippers sent me just so I could check the packaging looks okay, it all comes through all right, and everything's going according to plan, which arrived with me on Saturday. All looked gorgeous, all in perfectly great condition, nicely packaged, all absolutely fine. So I immediately told the shippers, yep, go for it. So this very week, in fact, this is Monday when we're recording, but it'll be Wednesday when people hear this. They are literally on their way physically out to Kickstarter backers.
Woohoo!
Yeah. And also, I've released a new book.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Well, I haven't actually, but by Wednesday I will have done. So because I'm just...
By the time you've heard it, the new book will be out.
it's called the Galactic Sentience catalogue, and it has
The Galactic Sentience calendar.
and it has
This has been highly anticipated by a lot of What's Old is New fans.
50 new
is this your
playable
best dream?
sci-fi races.
No. 50 new playable what?
Sci-fi races, alien species.
Yeah.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah. And they're all sort of wacky ones, and sort of, there's plant-based ones and silicon-based ones and insectoid ones and different mechanical ones, and there's a changeling in there, which is definitely not inspired by Deep Space Nine. And there's, all sorts of different ones. There's a snaky one, which is able to wave its head back and forth and hypnotise people. There's a fungus one which emits spores. So it's all kind of weird kind of alien races. They're not all just like humans with a couple of knobbly bits on their head. Quite a lot of them are, completely different life form.
Absolutely. No, okay, and you got 50 of those bad boys.
Yeah, over 50 in fact.
Over
50 plus.
Wow. 50
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure...
And for the What's Oldest News
Yes.
system. That will be exciting.
Yeah. I think, is that it for the news, or is there anything else that we're missing?
Well, there is one other thing that I know about. It's something that was in the News Digest. WizKids expanded their license on miniatures. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but they have signed on. They did something similar with Wizards of the Coast, where they did miniatures for Magic the Gathering, which is a game that does not require miniatures. But they are now going to do standard 28 millimeter, heroic scale miniatures for My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, and Transformers.
I want Transformers miniatures. I don't know what I do with them, but I buy them.
That has been the response of pretty much everyone I have that has seen this news story. Is I don't know what I'm going to do with Transformers minis, but I want them.
Take my money.
Depends.
My precious.
What will they look like, though? Will they look like the old cartoons, or will they look like the Michael Bay ones?
They are going to be both in pre-painted and unpainted formats, so it's up to you which one you want to pick. And it's the typical, I'm assuming it's going to be the typical WizKids quality sculpts, which are kind of mid-grade when it comes to, in terms of quality on miniatures. And pretty much the press announcement doesn't really say much. It doesn't say how they're going to release them or when, other than some time before the end of the year. A lot of it is really pushing on, basically, I think the WizKid CEO is kind of, who's Justin Zirin, he is kind of geeking out because he's getting to make Transformers minis and G.I. Joe minis and My Little Pony minis. So.
Right. Okay. Shall we play our favourite game in all the world? Okay. So our favourite game in all the world is the game where I give you the name of a Kickstarter and you try and guess what the Kickstarter's about from just the name. And because we're short, we've been going on for quite a long time, I'm just going to do one each, if that's all right.
Very well.
So who would like to go first?
I shall go first. Oh, no, Darryl can go first.
I was going to volunteer as tribute.
Well, yeah, I do have lots of experience, even if I don't have a great track record. So I thought I would go first.
I didn't want to break your winning streak from the last time you had a guest on, so...
It's certainly a streak. It's long, it's wide, and it's very, very brown. But anyway.
Right, so we'll do it. We're doing Peter? Okay, Peter then. Hello. Peter,
yeah.
I'm listening. What is
yes.
Conclave?
An excellent name. Conclave. I am hoping it is a new RPG which is taking on how to roleplay wizards and only wizards, following in the shoes of Mage and Ars Magica, but with a new and exciting magic system. It's all about like a council, a conclave, if you will, of wizards all getting together, having chats, and then going off and doing wizardy things, which are not limited to the creation of owlbears, going on random adventures, and dealing with the fundamental forces that warp reality itself. That's what I'd hope for from a game called Conclave.
Well, okay, so I will give you that it does involve a bunch of old men that claim to be able to do magic getting together and having a chat. That much is correct. So Conclave is the papal election LARP. You did not see that coming, did you?
Oh, God! I remember seeing this one.
It's the April election LARP.
Papal. Papal
election. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
RPG.
It is
right.
based off of a specific papal election that took like a week. It was months. It was like 3 months.
Yeah. Oh, it's a serious business.
It was like
election,
the
right?
one from like 1232 or something like that.
Yeah, so basically it's a LARP. You play as a cardinal of the church, determining who will be the next pope. Could it be you? A live-action role-playing game of the
All the
Papal
white smoke say
Conclave
yes.
of 1268.
And like, I do remember this one now that I heard it. It's like they based it off of a real one where they basically locked all the cardinals in and said, this, because they took so long, said, decide or you starve.
3 years.
We're not feeding you anymore.
The Papal Conclave of 1268 took 3 years, and they could only resolve their differences once threatened with starvation.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 weeks is not that long a time. It's a pretty big decision, yeah.
Once
you choose your pope,
3 years.
you're stuck with him.
Peter, not weeks.
Yeah.
Years.
3 years.
Well, exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like 3 weeks, it's like, well, okay, that would be a long time for many things, but there's a lot of like things to go on. No, 3 years is quite a long time. That's the sort of thing where you're like, yeah, no, seriously, guys, you've had long enough. Make a choice, yeah. But 3 weeks, it's like, yeah, whatever. But no, okay, anyway. So what did I get?
I would say I'll give you 2 out of 10 for getting the concept of the old men having a chat. Okay. Right, next one is... This one's for Darryl. Okay. What is lasers and liches?
Lasers and liches. Oh, God, I want to say I know this one too, but I can't remember what it is. But it sounds like this would be a undead fighting cyber things.
Undead fighting cyber thing. That's the exact tagline. That's amazing. Lasers and liches.
Wait, are you kidding?
No. Of course I'm kidding.
Okay.
Well,
British. I may have been raised on British television, but I don't quite get British sarcasm entirely yet. But liches and lasers. Dear God, I swear I saw this one already, but I can't remember a damn thing about it. So I'm just gonna say, undead creatures versus cyberpunk. One side is all cybered out street samurai badasses, and the other side are undead hordes of magic users, and they fight.
So, yeah. I'll just tell you straight what it is. It's a campaign setting for D&D 5th edition.
A campaign?
Campaign setting for D&D 5th edition. Usual campaign stuff, races, classes, spells, monsters, all that stuff. I'll read the description. It is an unbound universe bursting with half-faded memories, barely remembered songs, lost childhood friends, outdated styles, vaporwave. Is that meant to be vaporware? Vaporwave, abandoned dreams,
Vaporwave.
lost playthings, vaporware, and time-corroded nostalgia.
Right.
Okay.
Expect neon swords, code dragons, pizza slimes.
Nice.
So this is basically what a really, really hardcore stoner's idea of Shadowrun and Cyberpunk 2020 is.
Yeah, but I think it's still set in a medieval setting from the looks of it.
Which...
Oh, I'm not sure.
Like
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. No,
Yeah.
maybe it's not. No, I don't know when it's set. It's not. It's not entirely clear. It says yesteryear, whatever that means.
In the long ago, before the adults fell.
Yeah. I don't know. No. I think maybe it's. Maybe,
I'm
maybe
trying to
it's the
remember
recent
my Children
past.
of the Corn catch lines, and I can't remember them all.
Oh, yes. Well, it certainly sounds like a game, and certainly sounds like an interesting one. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think you two have tied this week.
Oh,
It's a dead
Peter's
tie.
streak is not broken yet. He has 1 win and 800,000 losses.
Tell you what, shall I do one more and the first one to guess it wins?
Okay, I'll agree to that.
Okay. What do you reckon, Peter?
Yeah, that sounds entirely right.
Okay. Luna's fangs at the gate.
Ooh,
Werewolves.
This is the Exalted Source book.
Oh,
Peter pulls it out of the bag
Peter's
at the
right.
last second there. You are correct.
The second it came out of his mouth, I knew it.
Yeah, well, this was a fingers on buzzers type situation. It was the first one, and
Sweet. The run was a complete success. We got in and out of Hitoshi Plaza without a hitch. Now, Mr. Johnson paid us without complaint, and Omni Hyper Global Megacorp will never know it was us. Our payday is 300,000 nuyen. Split 3 ways makes 100,000 nuyen each. Wally, you covered us electronically. Here's your 100 grand. Fizzbang, you provided mage support. So here's your 100,000. There. We're all done. Yo, Wally, what's up?
I get a bigger share.
What?
Templeton, it doesn't seem fair. Why don't I get more money?
Oh, drop that. We all get equal shares.
Yes, split 3 ways is the easiest and fairest.
But, like, my expenses are super high. I've lost 2 drones, and my hacking deck was totally fried by Black Intruder countermeasures. I'm, like, out of pocket to the tune of 200,000 nuyen.
I hardly see your point. If you can't be looking after your little toys, that is hardly our affair.
Hey, you can talk, Fizzbang. You don't have any expenses. All you do is suck up med packs.
Well, I never.
That actually is true, Fizzbang. I spent 400 nuyen on healing kits just getting you back on your feet.
For which you have my undying gratitude, Templeton, I assure you.
Yeah, and I lost my drones covering your sorry rears as you were exfiltrating.
I mean, if we should reimburse Wally, then the least you could do is pay me back.
Gentlemen, Wally, Templeton, this squabbling about money is unseemly. What is money, really, in the great scheme of things?
Our payment for getting our asses shot off?
Yeah, the reason we do this.
Dang, Fizzbang, I'm beginning to think Wally's right. You should definitely get less cash. Give yours to Wally.
Yeah, hand it over.
Come at me, bro. Fireball!
Look what I got.
What have you got?
Oh, that is the 2nd edition
This
Shadowrun
is-
source book, and that is one that is actually intact. I haven't seen
Yes.
one of those in almost
It's
25
lovely. That
years
classic cover.
because mine has not had its cover connected in 25 years.
I remember this cover so
With
well.
the glorious Larry Elmore cover for the original 1st and 2nd edition of Shadowrun.
So, I guess the question that not everybody will have heard of every role-playing game. So I guess the question is, what is Shadowrun?
Shadowrun was Shadowrun is kind of a personal obsession to me, and I kind of warned the guys on this. It's one of those things where you say, if you know that one person who does their wedding ceremony and they do it in Starfleet uniform and complete makeup, and then they do the entire ceremony in Klingon, and you come up to them in the ceremony and says, "What do you think about this Star Trek thing?" That's like asking me about Shadowrun. It is one of my first really nerdy obsessions. And Shadowrun, as a role-playing game, was originally released in 1989 by Facet Corporation, and the best description I have these days is The Dresden Files meets Blade Runner. It is a mixture of urban fantasy and cyberpunk with a long and deep lore, and its books have always had deep ties to the setting and to its ongoing meta plot. It takes place in a year that, well, what you want to do is any book you grab for Shadowrun, look at the publication date, add 60 years and about 6 months, and that is the time period for that book.
Right.
That has been kind of consistent along the entire line for the past 30 years, and this is the 30th anniversary of Shadowrun this year as well.
The phrase that I've always heard that best sums up Shadowrun to me is, do not meddle in the affairs of dragons, for you're crunchy and taste good with ketchup.
Very good. That is one of the iconic statements. Another one is shoot straight, conserve ammo, and never, ever cut a deal with the dragon.
Which does tell us that there are dragons in this setting, which I don't think I remember hearing in the Dresden Files, although I might not be completely 100% up to date, because you've got orcs, elves, goblins, trolls, dwarves. Do you have goblins? You don't have goblins. Scratch that a bit. But yeah.
Not, goblins are a sub-race of orcs. Which, by the way, Shadowrun is one of the crunchiest of crunchy role-playing games that is still in print. If you want to go back to the old school, it was about mid-grade when it came out in 1989, but by current standards, it is crunchy when it comes to rules. It is really intricate and really detailed. But if you want to know what the basic premise of Shadowrun as what it is it's a cyberpunk urban fantasy game in which the party is basically kind of a cross between mercenary, black ops, private investigators, or just kind of straight up freelance criminals. And mostly what you do is corporate espionage. The typical Shadowrun adventure is you're hired by a Mr. Johnson. You are performing some sort of task that usually involves you sneaking into a secure facility and either stealing or planting a thing and then escaping.
Nice.
In practice, you're usually coming up with about 8 different plans. All of them backfire on you, and then you end up shooting your way out anyway and blowing the whole place up.
While rolling,
The Benny Hill
and
theme
hope
tune.
you get
rolling
played in the
copious
end.
numbers of D6s.
So many D6s.
Oh yes,
So many.
yeah. The game system itself is it's like I said, it's very on the crunchy end. It is a D6 dice pull system, and it is the D6iest of dice pulliest games ever. You may see people making jokes about the number of dice you have to roll in other games. You will never, ever, ever top the number of D6s that a good character optimization person will roll in a Shadowrun game, because if you're rolling 80 D6,
That's a lot of dice.
you are on the upper edge of character
Thank
optimization.
God for
but
dice
it
rolling
goes
apps.
way beyond then.
I was just thinking that, Russ. Yeah, dice rolling apps do seem like your friend.
I still remember the day when I was running a Shadowrun 3rd edition game. I went on Amazon and I was buying, not only with my dice collection over the 2 decades at this point in time that was going on, I was buying dice specifically for Shadowrun. And I went, are 206-siders really enough?
Well, you got to bring some to share with friends.
Well, it was for the whole table, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I have made characters where 200d6 is not impossible. I could have rolled 200d6s on a couple of rolls.
Do you have a favourite edition of Shadowrun?
When it comes to Dungeons and Dragons, I love every single edition. Every single edition has its own little flavor and flair. For Shadowrun, it is the only game in which I am a grognard. I will stand by Shadowrun 3rd edition. And 2 reasons for this. One, it's kind of it is my personal favorite edition. But number 2 is also, Shadowrun was my first role-playing game, and Shadowrun 3rd edition, I spent over a decade of my life playing that edition of the game. Wow. So, that is my favorite edition. That is not speaking ill of Shadowrun 4th or 5th edition. No. Those are both really, really good games. Shadowrun, the main big difference between Shadowrun 1st through 3rd edition and Shadowrun 4th and 5th edition is they made a switch between variable target numbers and fixed target numbers.
Right.
And again, we're talking about the game system here. In Shadowrun,
didn't they bring
1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition...
Didn't they bring in, like, wireless technology and so forth?
That was more of a lore thing that happened in 4th edition. But for a mechanical thing, and the thing that separates 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition is that you could... your gear and everything else, your spells, your powers, your cyberware, all altered the number of dice you rolled as well as the target number in 1st through 3rd edition. In 4th and 5th edition, the target number is set at 5. On a D6, you roll D6s. Every single 5 or 6 is a success. Everything else is not a success. and all of your gear, your cyberware, your powers, everything else modifies the number of dice you roll up and down. And 5th edition added a new element to it called limits, which limits the number of successes you're allowed to count on your D6 pool.
Quite important, because otherwise you're just rolling big buckets of dice.
Yeah, and it was the first major kind of pushback against that. I'm rolling 84 D6 on a character out of character generation thing that was going on.
It's a bit of a balancing mechanic that needed to be brought in. But you mentioned the lore, and for many people, that is the thing that really grabs them about Shadowrun. So some people, myself included, speaking purely from a position of ignorance, never having played the game properly, really love the lore, but find the system quite inaccessible. I mean, I love the flavour and setting of it. I mean, Russ, what's your favourite piece of Shadowrun, like sort of lore or thing that gets you excited? What's the concept about it that gets you excited?
What specifically? I mean, I quite like all the different sort of archetypes they have in there. I know the archetypes aren't like classes in D&D, but I like things like, you know, the street samurai, and I like the idea of the deckers and all the ones that inhabit vehicles. Riggers, is that what they're called? Yeah,
yes,
the riggers and stuff like that.
Riggers.
So I just love all the different sort of archetypes and character types that you can have in Shadowrun. They're so much fun.
Yeah. Oh, the language is so evocative as well. It's like, you know, street samurai. It really gives you that sort of like 1980s Japan is going to be like the next big thing and take over the world.
Yeah.
But also on the street, you got the street samurai, and like a decker, like really leaning into William Gibson's Neuromancer, where you're going and you're playing your own game, basically, like exploring this sort of computer. What's it called, Darryl? The Matrix or something?
The Matrix. The Matrix is a global. This was the internet, and again, this game started in 1989, before the internet was really a thing, and it really predicted a lot of stuff that came out of the internet, which was kind of basically all of Cyberpunk was kind of predicting a lot of the stuff that was going to end up extrapolating out. Which, by the way, I do want to point out. Cyberpunk, the first edition of Cyberpunk came out just months before the first edition of Shadowrun.
Okay. So
by like, I want to say 3 or 4 months, the two editions came out. Which, by the way, the first edition of Cyberpunk was 2013, not 2020. 2020 is the second edition.
Well,
of
Shadowrun
Cyberpunk.
isn't strictly Cyberpunk, is it? Because it has magic in it, which is the big difference between it and Cyberpunk. So you've got wizards, and you've got dragons, and you've got orcs and elves and that sort of stuff, which aren't, you know, part of a...
Yeah, it is kind of the biggest defining feature of a lot of the lore when it comes into it. The cyberpunk and the fantasy both blend together as far as I could sit here for hours and hours and hours. I'm going to go ahead and plug a friend of mine, Opti, from the Neo-Anarchist podcast. If you're wanting to know about the history of Shadowrun lore... That guy has a podcast who goes over almost by year or by segment. It is an absolutely amazing podcast. Chad, you are awesome. I just wanted to throw that out there. He is the guy that if it wasn't for Catalyst Game Labs hiring him to write for them, I might need to relinquish my title of the biggest Shadowrun expert on the planet that has never written for the game line.
So my Shadowrun experience, like, I haven't really seen anything since FASA had it. I've only played it a couple of times, and these were a long like in the 90s. So these were a long time ago. So my memories of it are a little faint and distant. It was definitely back when FASA had it. Who had it after FASA? How did that work? Because FASA closed down, didn't it? Yeah, FASA closed down, but where did the rights go after that?
I actually and let me plug my YouTube channel again, I actually just did a video about the lore behind BattleTech, and BattleTech and Shadowrun are both the two biggest properties that came out of FASA. What happened was, in 1999... FASA closed active operations and then sold off of the IP for BattleTech and Shadowrun to WizKids, who were then bought by a I'm wondering how deep I want to go into this, because this is a rabbit hole that I don't know how many people are going to be interested in.
And also we've only got about another quarter of an hour.
It ended up...
Well, actually, to be fair, I got into Shadowrun in that I read the books I read some of the books, not all of them, but there were some that were in the library in the late 90s. I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. I like this. I like the cyberpunk. I'm loving the fantasy elements. Really innovative. And it's the sort of very evocative thing that sticks with you. And then, I can't remember when it was. You'll know this. The Harebrained games started bringing out... Harebrained Schemes.
Yep.
Started bringing out...
Shadowrun Returns.
Shadowrun Returns to Kickstarter. I was like, oh, that looks quite jolly.
That was 2013, I want to say.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. I haven't looked it up in a while.
Yeah.
2013, 2014. But there have actually been several video games based off of Shadowrun. There was a version in 1991 for the Super Nintendo. A version which has one of the best soundtracks of any game ever in that era, in my opinion. There was, in 1992, a version for the Sega Genesis. There was a Japanese-only version that came out on the Sega Master Drive. And then there was two PC versions, the Shadowrun Returns from Harebrained Schemes, and then there was Shadowrun Chronicles, which actually takes place in the modern day setting. Shadowrun Returns takes place in the 2050 setting of Shadowrun, which is when it started in 1989, and then the Shadowrun Chronicles takes place in the 2070s, which is where the game is now. And there are rumors that there was an Xbox 360 game that was based on Shadowrun, but
never saw the light of day.
There was no Xbox game based on Shadowrun. Just like there were no Highlander sequels after the first movie and the TV series.
I understand, yes. Right, with you, yeah.
Anyway.
But yes, I've never actually had a chance to actually play Shadowrun. I've played things which are Shadowrun adjacent. There's a lot, because it's a very popular idea. People really want to do things like that. Like there's the Sprawl Powered by the Apocalypse. That seems to be relatively popular. And you've also got... was it Shadowrun Anarchy, which is supposed to be...
Shadowrun Anarchy was released by Catalyst Game Labs, who currently hold the license, which, by the way, the people who own the rights to Shadowrun, this is funny, is Topps, the baseball card company. They own the rights to Shadowrun, and they license it to Catalyst Game Labs.
So, I guess the question is, when did was it the 4th edition? That's the latest? When did that come out?
5th edition is the latest edition that came out. That came out in 2013. 5th edition tried to address some of the issues of the previous editions, where it was, like I said, those 80 dice pull things, where if you can still build in 5th edition a character that can do 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 dice pull, a rolling D6, but there's a new feature called limits. And limits limit the number of successes you're allowed to count out of the numbers of the dice pool. You may roll 20 successes, but if your limit is 3, you only get to count 3 of them. That
sounds like poor optimization to me, to be fair. But yeah, so one of the criticisms that you often hear of Shadowrun is that it's considered to be a very complicated game, and thus is quite crunchy. And thus might be considered inaccessible to people.
I don't see.
Do you think there's any?
I don't see crunchy as a criticism. It's a description. It's not a criticism.
Well, no. In this case,
that's like saying a chocolate bar is nutty. It's it's not a criticism, is it? It's a flavour.
I'm gonna be honest, Russ. In this case, crunchy is a criticism, because Shadowrun is one of the crunchier games that's still on the market. Its character creation and its role system is about as in-depth as Champions or Hero systems.
It's different types of games for different types of people, isn't it?
If that is what you like, that's awesome. That is what I like. It too.
I very much
like I said, I am kind of... This is my system. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it is a thing that is a barrier, which they have put forward Catalyst Game Labs put forward a narrative-based system called Shadowrun Anarchy, which is a very rule streamlined system. It's very more, I don't want to say, when I say rules light and narrative, I'm using that in comparison to Shadowrun. It's about as rules light as, say, Savage Worlds is, which is still not as light as, say, Fate or some of the other systems that are going. It's not. It's still on that middle ground, but on the same side, it still lets you jump into the sixth world and enjoy the system. Which you were talking about, you read the novels. I'm assuming. Is that right, Peter?
I read one of the, I presume, many novels that were out there.
I am going to tell you right now, if you want the pure Shadowrun experience, track down this novel, 2XS by Nigel Finley.
I will.
Nigel Finley is one of the legends of game design. He worked on Dungeons & Dragons. He worked on Shadowrun. He worked on Earth Dawn, which Earth Dawn was kind of Shadowrun's pure fantasy pairing. Earth Dawn is the fourth world to Shadowrun's sixth world, which will make sense if you actually understand the lore.
Just quickly, Darryl, as we're coming up to the end of our time, what would be your recommendations for how to get into Shadowrun for your aspiring new player? Because, like, you played Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. It's been cool, but you're sort of done now. You want to try something a bit more exciting. What's the top 3 things that you need to know to get yourself into Shadowrun?
Top things. Number 1, watch heist movies. My biggest suggestion is the TV series Leverage. I have called out, and by the way, the showrunner John Rogers has kind of confirmed that Leverage was at least partially based on Shadowrun. Leverage is Shadowrun without the fantasy and without the cyberpunk. Aside from that, number 2, the way you would watch, if you're wanting to prepare for Dungeons and Dragons, and you would watch Critical Role on Twitch, there is the Shadowcasters Network. It is a Twitch channel that is devoted to Shadowrun. They do live streams of Shadowrun 5th Edition, Shadowrun Anarchy, and other networks as well. And if you are really interested, there are quick starts to it. Shadowrun 5th Edition is one of the crunchier role-playing games on the market at this time. Shadowrun Anarchy is a lot easier to get into, and if you're really wanting to get into the lore, I would highly suggest looking into the novels. Again, not only is this one of my favorite tie-in novels, not only is this one of my favorite cyberpunk novels, this is one of my favorite books of all time. 2XS by Nigel Finley.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, so, Darryl, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge and your clear passion and love of Shadowrun. Has ever been a pleasure, and definitely looking forward to hearing this podcast. I must say, the bonus content is absolutely jam-packed with terrible things.
Yes, if you are not a Patreon sponsor, there's going to be a lot more, and I promise you, I am probably going to drop in even more commentary when I edited it to add in even more Shadowrun lore and explanations.
Just make the Patreon one Darryl's extended Shadowrun TED Talk.
Darryl's extended Shadowrun version, the 16-hour-long epic. Which, of course, you can find at patreon.com/Morrus, MORRUS.
Darryl geeks out about this week Shadowrun. Fantastic. It's been a fantastic time. I'm definitely looking forward to coming back next week and doing another podcast. How about you, Russ?
Well, you want to do another one?
I know. We've been doing it for like 6 months now, and some people say enough is enough. But you know what? I don't think people have had enough of role-playing game.
Well, next week we have got Mr. John Dodd, who is going to talk to us all
from UK Games Expo.
About convention. So he's the floor manager at UK Games Expo, and he's one of the directors of Dragon Meet. So it's a bit more Dragon Meet than he is UK Games Expo, actually. But he's involved in both, and he's going to talk about the sort of conventions from the other side of the screen.
Nice.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
Okay.
Right, well, we shall look forward to having John Dodd on next week.
Yeah, well, thank you everybody as always for listening, and that's it for another week. We'll be back next week with our special guest John Dodd. But for today, it's goodbye from me, Russ.
And it's goodbye from me, Peter Coffey from the Southampton Guild of Roleplayers.
And it's goodbye from me, Darryl, your editor. You can find me on twitch.tv/Gamers Tavern Show, where I will be talking more about Shadowrun, I promise.
I'd like to see someone stop you.
So until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I genuinely believe that was the most interesting, informative, and entertaining podcast I've ever listened to. What? No, I was listening to The Infinite Monkey Cage with Professor Brian Cox. The Morrus podcast is rubbish. I don't understand why anyone would listen to it. I think I shall lock Russ and Peter in a tiny room and play Rick Astley's greatest hits on repeat to them for a week. Maybe that will make them think twice about not being the best podcasters in the world.